Greetings, I'm Dave. Welcome to my channel. I'm all about things that you can do with tech. And you'll see right there the contents of this video. I'm going to share some of my experience using the Logitech C920 with OBS Studio on Ubuntu 20.04. And first I'd like to respond to some of the comments I've received. Right up front, I'd like to thank everyone for the observations and interactions. I appreciate all of the comments. One of the comments was surprise regarding my finding the C920 to be nearsighted. Here's the thing. It is designed to be a webcam, which means its expected operation is to be for focusing at closer distances, not 25 feet to 50 feet to infinity. If you want a camera that works well at extended ranges, something else really is in order. Perhaps an action cam or something more expensive. For inexpensive consumer electronics, compromises must be made, and it seems to me that Logitech's compromises are better and at a reasonable price point, especially as compared to another that I've recently looked at. Now, because Logitech has decent depth of field, the autofocus doesn't need to work as carefully as a camera with more expensive electronics, whether still cams or video. With those more expensive electronics, you can get more precise autofocus. The Logitech C920 works well for its intended purpose. And its purpose is nearsighted. As I've already commented, I believe the factory tolerances are a bit loose on this so that there's some variability in the furthest point that you have effective focus from it. So with the two cameras I've had, they've definitely been nearsighted and need some adjustment in order to get a further focal distance. I've not tested many, just the two, but some people have been surprised that there's any distance vision from the C920. But it seems to me that this is a reasonable guess as to why. It's just loose factory tolerances because it has good depth of field and it's really designed for close focus. And what I mean by that is from about 1 foot out to about, or in fact even a couple inches, out to about 4 feet. Or 6, 10, whatever. And there are a couple of fixes that allow better results at what I would call mid-range. In other words, around 25 feet. If your camera is more nearsighted than some of the others, as mine seem to be, then some of these are in order. I explored one of those fixes in a previous video. Now, the other comment regarding my videos concerned my observation on frame rate for the C920. It was made during my review of a no-name web camera, and I'll take this up again when I get to the OBS section of this video. Right here, as I said, you see the planned content for this video, and I'll have this table of contents down in the show notes with timestamps so that you can jump to the portions of it that are of greatest interest to you. Video for Linux. What is it? How do you use it? If you have some experience with Linux, then you already know all about it probably. If you're newer to Linux, though, I'll assume that you're transitioning from Windows. And to offer an imperfect analogy, it's something like a DLL for Windows. This package allows the operating system to work with your webcam hardware more granularly than is possible with the basic drivers baked into the kernel. It offers the Linux user some of the control that's possible in Windows using the software provided by Logitech. Okay? So the next step is to get the package vee-four-ell utils and install it. And so I'm going to show you how, and I'm going to use Terminal to do that. So now for the screenshots. So we go to Applications, type in Terminal, and click to open. And you'll get this window, and the commands that I'm showing you are going to be listed in the show notes. As always, make sure you understand what these are and what they're doing before you use them. all of these commands are well documented elsewhere, and I really encourage you not to just type in something that you found on the internet, but learn what it's all about. After you do this command, you'll need to enter your password. And what it is doing is updating your package list so that you can upgrade to the latest version of your installed packages, or find the latest release of any packages you do not yet have. After you've done that, then sudo apt-get install vee-four-ell utils. Make sure you've typed it correctly. Return. And you see that I already have it installed. Had I not had it installed, you would have seen a process where it asks for your password first, and then it reads back what's needed, and then asks if you're sure you want to continue. And you'll see that in the next bit that I'm going to show you. So there you go. You have, after this, you have vee-four-ell utils on your system, and I'm going to recommend another package for you. And while we are getting software, we may as well go ahead and get GUVC View this way, although you could get it through Ubuntu software and install it via the GUI. But here's the process for using the command line. Sudo apt-get install GUVC View. It'll ask for your password right there, and you enter it. It reads the package lists. Do you want to continue? Just type Y and return. And you now have GUVC Viewer on your system. That will be the tool with which we see how these utilities work for Video for Linux. This command allows you to find your webcam. And you see that it has detected that I have the c920, and it's showing it as two different devices here, Video 1 and Video 0. Now, I already know from experience that what I want is Video 0, but you'll need to find what it is on your system and probably try one of the two. Normally for me, it has been the first of the two that are listed. So I would suspect if you don't have any other webcam, you're going to come back with Video 0 and Video 1 just like this, and the one you'll want is Video 0. So then you know how to use the rest of the syntax with using these utils. And what you'll want to do is, so to find out what controls are available for your webcam, you type in this command, vee-four-ell2-control ctl-d/dev/video0, whichever is appropriate, video 0, 1, 2, etc. for your camera, --list-controls. Okay. So now that it's all there on the screen, you can see what the controls are. And so I'm going to recommend that you just play with them. Find out what each of them do. And to do that, you'll want to open a GUVC window, and that will allow you to see what your webcam is seeing and how you're changing it. So we're going to do that next. Open a GUVC window and add to what I'm showing you. Once you have these packages, the utilities package for Video for Linux and the GUVC Viewer, you can start playing with how these controls work. And to give you an example, I'll just show you this first one. Make sure that you've got your command typed right, so that you have the right video in there so you don't get an error thrown. And then pick the control you want to work with. And so I'm going to do zoom absolute to see what it does. Well, I already know what it does, but show you what it does. So you see we have a range there of 100 to 500% and a step of 1. So you can be very granular how close you want to focus. So let's give 200 a try. Boom. Well, that's fun. Let's try 300. Boom. Okay. Again, 400. That didn't work. Now this illustrates one of the issues that I have had with the camera and with the software that's available for it so far. The zoom does not fully work out to 500% with any of the controls, whether the GUIs that are available in VLC or in OBS or now with even the terminal and GUVC. So this was something new. Let's see if we can get 350. See if we can get any more. No. So it looks like the most that we can get out of it is looks like the most we can get out of it is 300%. So let's just go back to 200%. Yeah, a little bit better. And tilt this a little bit. Okay. So you can play with all of the controls here in this way. And the syntax is the same. Whatever control you want to use, just use the indicated name of that control, right? You know, whatever it is. Exposure absolute. Okay, suppose you didn't want your exposure to be so much. You could try playing with that. Or suppose you want to change your white balance. Let's see. White balance temperature auto. White balance temperature. Let's try that one. See what we can do with it. So we'll copy that. Right click and copy. And now we'll come down here. And instead of zoom absolute, we'll paste in this other control. And what are my options? 2000 to 6500. The current is 4000. So just for kicks, let's try the 2000. What do you think? Something went wrong. White balance temperature 2000. Failed, invalid, or incomplete. Well, let's turn auto off. Okay, so let's see if that'll let us do it. White balance auto. Let's turn that off. We'll copy that. scroll back down. What I'm doing here is an up arrow. That gets me my last command, so I don't have to retype everything. And we'll just enter this new control name. Auto, and we'll say equals 0 to turn it off. See, and there's that 2000. Very blue. All right, well, let's see what happens with 6000. What do you think? What your lighting is like and what your particular preferences are will affect how you want to set this particular control. I have found for me, generally, I like 3500 best on this control. So that's what I'm going to do. And you can play with all of those controls in this way and see exactly what they do and just get familiar with it. Where it will most likely come in handy for you is in situations like Zoom calls, things like that. I have not found the command line to be helpful with OBS or with VLC. But with Zoom, I do like to adjust my zoom on Zoom calls so that it's not the full screen that everyone is seeing, but a closer focus on me. And I've found for that, for my purposes, 120 to 130 has normally been about the best setting. But play with it. Find out what works best for you. So that's the command line. I was going to tell you what vee-four-ell is, and the command line showed you how to install it, and I showed you the Logitech camera controls. I've also shown you GUVC Viewer and how you can use it to see what your camera is doing. Now, let's move to OBS. My sound quality is not going to be as good in this section because I'm using Simple Screen Recorder instead of OBS to record it. But what I want to do is show you how to add the Logitech to OBS and get it set up. So what we're going to do, we have our screen, our scene started. This is the scene that I'm working on right here. And what I have in it right now is the mic and my background, which you see there. And what we're going to do is add the webcam, which is a video capture device. And you notice the vee-four-ell2, that's video for Linux. And we just added the tools for that. Click on that. And I've already added this camera once, so we're just going to add existing. And there you see it. Now I'm going to crop this so it fits on my, grab the handle and drag. Once you've cropped it, it'll have a green border. Prior to that, it has a red border. And then just expand it to the size you want, and it's ready to go. But you want to do some adjusting on it. So come here to Properties. Right click on the camera source. Sources, right click on Camera. Click on Properties. And that tells you the camera. You see it says leave unchanged, leave unchanged. I'm going to talk to you about that. Then we have all of these controls. Now I have set these controls the way that I want them. I think it works a little bit better for me to have brightness at 96 instead of the 128, which is standard. I also like a little less saturation, so I've set it to 96. I've toned my color down to 3500, like I mentioned in the previous segment. And let's see, I normally like to add a little bit of sharpness, boost that up to 160, and then with these controls, I have not been able to get any response at all out of pan, tilt, or focus. So there's something about OBS not working with those vee-four-ell2 controls as Logitech as they're available in Logitech. We have a little bit of control with them in the command line using GUVC, but none here. So those controls, just be aware that you don't have them, and in order to zoom in, what you have to do is crop the image and then enlarge it to the size you want, which is what I was doing earlier. Now let me go right back up here. Device, camera 1, video format, resolution, leave unchanged, frame rate, leave unchanged. If I leave those unchanged, I get the best results. If I change my video format so that I am, change my resolution so that I am demanding 1920 by 1080, it only offers me 5 frames per second. However, if I leave it unchanged, then the frame rates that are available go all the way up to 60. Something wonky about the way these implement. You don't get a true control of the camera. What I would like to see is resolution 1920 by 1080, 1080p, and then my frame rate either 25 or 30. That's what I would like it to be. As is, I have to leave resolution unchanged and set my frame rate this way. So there you have using the camera with OBS. The controls are not perfect, but they are there. And it does not work to try to use the command line to adjust these things with OBS. OBS just takes over all of those controls and the command line has no effect. So, at least that's my experience. So, okay, that's the way that is. That's the way I want it. So, what I've done is I've talked to you about vee-four-ell, what it is, how to use it, and the OBS Studio camera interface, and tried to tell you what works and what doesn't. Maybe some of you have found some workarounds for some of these issues that I have found, but that's where I am with it. The Logitech camera is good. I like it, and there's a lot of things you can do with it, and it is certainly better than that other no-name that I introduced and critiqued in a previous video. Now there are many more settings in OBS that are important. It's a learning curve, but one of the things that you will want to do is sync your audio with your video, and there is an easy way of doing that. What you have to do is go to your audio mixer and right-click on that gear icon. It'll open the dialog that offers you an advanced audio properties option. Right-click or left-click on that, and right there in the middle of that dialog box, you have the opportunity to change your sync offset. The way I have found best to use that is to actually make several short recordings where I use the clap method, and I also watch my lips and listen to my sound, my speaking. Do both. Make several short clips at several different offsets, and then play them back on VLC Media Player. By playing those short clips back on VLC Media Player at about 40% or even 50% in the speed of the playback, I'm able to hone in how much offset I need to make my audio and my video line up. Otherwise, you're going to look like you're a foreign film that's been overdubbed. So you will want to do that setting, and there's some others to learn as well. But the primary purpose of this video is to look at using the video camera with OBS. In a later video, I'm going to show you a little bit of using the same camera with Windows and OBS. So I'll have another video coming up that has the Windows logo instead of Ubuntu, and show you the ins and outs there. So hope it was helpful or interesting or amusing or something. So stay safe, stay healthy. See you next time.